Welcome to the Life's Necessities and Luxuries radio show. Today, our host, Dawn Marie Mutel, your life's commodities broker, will bring you fashion, beauty tips, business acumen, teach you where to find the life's greatest necessities and the finest luxuries. Now, here's Dawn Marie.
Well, I just learned that today is National New York Day, and being a native New Yorker, it's one of those cities that I just love, love, love. Okay, I also have a love-hate relationship with it as well, but I'll get into that another day. There's just so many amazing things about New York City that I can't even begin to start. But if you're a fan of food and you're a foodie like me, New York City has the best restaurants and delis that you can find around the globe, actually. So what I did was, if you go to my website, www.lifesnecessitiesandluxuries.com, I actually put together a little video on one of my favorite New York sandwiches, which is the Lox and Bagels sandwich that I fell in love with. There used to be a place called Lox around the clock in the Village, and we would go there late night after going to the clubs and dancing and just like have all these great sandwiches. I learned how to make them myself so that when I didn't have access to it, I can make my own. So be sure to check that out. And, there's just so many things and so many historical places that come out of New York. And then there's also the personalities and celebrities that have come out of New York. There's just so many famous people. I can't even begin to start with that either. Again, if you don't like the bagel, you could also have a Reuben sandwich and get a nice corned beef on rye with some sauerkraut and some Thousand Island dressing, and voila, you have another New York sandwich. But the one thing I always love about New York City is the fashion. It amazes me how many beautiful designers come out of New York, and I have become a fan. My mother turned me into a clothing horse at a young age, not knowing that she wanted to be a designer herself, so I got turned on to fashion at a really young age. But New York City, I love it, but I had to leave it. I don't know if you understand it if you live out there, but when you work in day out in the city, unless you have uber amounts of money to have a driver and live in a penthouse apartment and buy the things you want to see, that you see in the stores, and go to the restaurants that you want to eat at, if you don't have that kind of money, it's almost like, it's such a tease, because it's just slapping you in the face saying, here it is, but you can't have it. And that's pretty much how I lived my whole life. I didn't have a lot of money, so I did go to the best restaurants, though, and I did get to eat and go to, like, the most happening clubs and things like that. But it wasn't every day that, I could afford to do that. But I did find ways to get to do the things that I wanted to do that I couldn't afford to do, but still do it anyway. So there are ways to do that, which is going to be in my next book that I write, so stay tuned for that. But New York is timeless, with Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty and Niagara Falls and the Adirondack Mountains. There's just so many places, even the Catskills, that you can just go on quick day hops and go on a weekend vacation, or you can drive from New York to Vermont, or you can drive from New York to Boston, and you can drive from New York to Washington, D.C. There's just so many different veins that you can go explore that are at your fingertips, which was a really good thing that I loved about New York City, which I do miss that, because it seems like in Florida there's really not many of those kind of excursions that you can take. There are beachy ones, but you can't get into the mountains very easily unless you go out to maybe to Georgia or to North Carolina. But there's just so many wonderful artists and musicians, and I used to love riding the subways and come out of a train and go walking through the tunnels and hear the beautiful acoustics of some great artists or musician performing right there in front of me, or dancers, and it's just endless of the things that are out there. So I'm going to try to get my boyfriend to come on a trip with me to just introduce him, because he's never been, and I know he's going to get floored, even though he's a Floridian who has never been to New York City, and it's going to be quite different. But I think as an artist that he is, he's going to really appreciate that as well. Well, that's it for today. I just want to wish all you New Yorkers out there a blessed weekend. But for those who have never been to New York, I highly suggest you put that on your bucket list and start saving to get out there and enjoy it. Well, I'm sitting here at the pool, so if it's a little loud, I apologize, but it is gorgeous out, and I wanted to just be outside and get some fresh air while I shot this podcast, while I recorded this podcast. So remember to subscribe, please, because I don't want you to miss any episodes. We have a lot of new stuff coming up for the end of this year and the beginning of next year, and I don't want you to miss it. And I'd appreciate it if you could leave a review, because the more reviews I get, the more notoriety I get in the podcast world. So I'd really appreciate that. This is a free podcast with no advertising, so anything you guys can do to help me out, I'd truly appreciate it. So remember to live peacefully, happily, lovingly, and successfully. Until the next time, namaste.
If you like what you hear, tell someone. If you like what you hear, be a dear and pass it on. Don't forget to stop at our website, www.lifesnecessitiesandluxuries.com, for more tips, tricks, tutorials to live a very necessary and luxurious life.